Hey, Thomas here. In this video, my goal is to help you get your parkour roll, because one of the biggest questions that I see in the comments is, I'm struggling with my parkour roll. You might be experiencing this constantly, hitting your shoulders, you're hitting your hips, you're having trouble mastering the roll, transferring from grass to concrete. Now, one of the reasons why the roll is so important, the parkour roll, and you might be watching this and thinking, I don't need to be doing a parkour roll, because it is an advanced move. However, the parkour roll is incredibly useful for when you're outside, you're in a real life situation and you take a fall, or if you're taking a drop from impact. Several situations where I've been, if you're an athlete, you're playing at a sport, you're going at a high speed, you trip, you get knocked over, instead of face planting or possibly breaking the wrists, causing damage, you can hit and pop out and go into that roll. So I'm going to give you some simple tips here to get it going and get your parkour roll. You might notice the space is a little different here. You see the floor here, a little bit of duct tape might make some noise. This is a spot, we set this up for programs that we're creating. So those of you in our academy right now, we just put in the 90-day in-home fitness program. I know a bunch of you are really enjoying it right now. And if you're watching this right now, we're going to be releasing it out to the public here pretty soon, so watch out for it. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. You're trying to get your parkour roll, you're attempting it, and you keep on hitting your shoulder, you may even hit your spine, or the worst, in my opinion, the hip bone. Oh, so many bad times, Jonathan, you probably know.
Heck yeah.
Hip bone and shoulder, those big ones. So what this is caused from, usually up to 3 things here: your flexibility, your strength, and the technique you're using. So the tips we're going to be giving you here are going to cover each of those categories to help you out here. So first, to start off with the flexibility, because this is one that, no excuses here, you need to get this down. You can do this in home. And one of the flexibility points is being able to do a full squat. So how does a full squat, how does that help with your parkour roll? Well, in the parkour roll, you'll see as you're going into it, there's a very important part, especially with avoiding hitting the hip here, is when you're rolling, this part here. You need to be able to tuck your knees close to your body, because this will elevate the hip bone off and allow you to roll onto your bum here. So being able to go into this squat and hit this flexibility here, very important. So get your mobility squat down, okay? The other thing is the neck here. So you need to be able to touch your chin to your chest. You also need to be able to look side to side, because in the parkour roll, we're looking down and to the side through our armpit. Now, moving on to strength. Okay, this is often overlooked with people. They try to get into the roll really quick and they neglect this strength. Specifically with this push-up here, extended tricep push-ups, okay? You're gonna see how important this is, because as we talk about in our parkour roll tutorials, and if you haven't checked it out, we talk about the technique very extensively in our 5-day course. You can check out in the description below, or in some of our previous videos. But we're creating a diamond with our hand here and going to the side. But as we're going into the roll, it's very important that you hit every little piece of your arm here, and you're able to absorb that impact very smoothly to have a nice roll. If you're weak in your upper body here, specifically with this here, being able to control the impact here with your upper body, then you're going to have trouble and you're probably going to slam your shoulder, which probably many of you have experienced. So a way to help this is to increase the strength with this push-up here. The tricep push-up here in the diamond, okay? That's like ideal for getting the strength to be able to go from here and absorb that impact very smoothly. Next, with your strength, and the most important with your strength, with any movement, is your core strength. And I want Jonathan to hop on this one.
Oh,
King
yeah.
of core strength. Yeah, he's coming on
Switching
in.
it up.
Switching on you.
Yeah.
Switching on you.
Yeah.
Wait, did we just switch shirts, or?
I think that's what we did. I
All
shaved
right.
my beard. Yeah.
So core is going to be probably the most important thing, along with that upper body strength, because that's what's going to hold you in that shape. So whenever you're doing this, as you're elongating a little bit before you go into the roll, that core strength and being able to, for example, being able to hold a plank and stabilize this right here, that's what's going to help you hold yourself intact and have a really smooth roll. Also, it's going to help you for the tucked portion. So after you assume this position, and then you go into the tuck, to have a really nice tight roll, you have to be able to hold yourself really tight, and that takes core strength. So what you want to do is add exercises like what Thomas mentioned before, the hollow position that we've covered, that you've seen. If you haven't, you can go back and check out those. And then exercises like the plank. These are all going to help stabilize and build your core, and it's going to be perfect for going to that roll. And especially if you add in some cool things like mountain climber action, or from here, where you're doing a tucked position. So you're working on getting that tucked roll.
There we go. And not only does that strengthen your core, it gets you those abs.
Yep, hold on. See if I can do it.
There we go. Bust it out.
All right. Next is technique. So having good technique is probably where a lot of the problems come in. And some of the biggest technique problems that we see is with the shoulders. So with the shoulder, you want to curve in slightly. So almost like in a gymnastics position, where if you're on the rings or something like that, where you have your shoulders in, this is going to give you a good structure. And also, if you remember that we're rolling over the top of the shoulder. And so an easy way to make this roll a lot better is to pull the shoulders in. So you don't want to pull them back. If you have them back, as you're going into the roll, it's going to be a lot easier to clip that shoulder, pop it out of socket, do a lot of gnarly things. So what you want to do is curve it in slightly, keep it strong, so that way your arms are in closer, and as you go into the roll, this shoulder is now going to be able to tuck in way easier, so you can go over the top of it. Because that's what we're doing, going over the top of it. So pull in those shoulders like this, get strong. Next with technique is something that you're going to have to customize for yourself. And that's because everyone's body is usually a little bit different. So some people's hips are a little bit smaller, some people's shoulders are a little bit bigger. So what we see is that some people, when doing the roll, have to make different adjustments with how tight they're tucking, how far they roll over to the hip, do they roll a little more straight. And so a good drill for you to really, focus your technique and find out the exact technique that's right for you is to work on forward and backward rolls. So you can just get on your knees, and if you want, you can put one leg up. I just like to prefer to be on the knees. You're gonna place your hands, and you're gonna go into the forward roll. So forward roll, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna see how that felt. Were there any points that you had a little too much pressure? Maybe in the shoulders, maybe on the hips. So for example, if you had too much pressure on your hip bone and you could feel it, that means you're probably gonna have to roll a little bit more to the side. This is one thing I noticed when I was first doing my rolls. So instead of rolling straight over like this and hitting that bone, you might have to go a little bit more to the side. So turn a little bit to the side, so that way you can hit more of the muscle here as you roll up. And so this is what you're going to be looking for as you roll forward and back. So once you've done the forward roll, what you're going to do is you're going to roll back the exact same way that you rolled forward. So you roll forward like this. We're going to go here and go back over the exact same shoulder. So that way we can really feel exactly what's going on. And when you go back and forth, it really registers in your brain what the body's having to do and the position it's having to hit for the roll. And I actually picked up that last tip from DeAndre and his crew. So you see I'm rocking the shirts.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's a really good one. I want to give a shout out to him for that one.
Somatic movement.
And then so that's really what you're going to do. With the technique, little adjustments like that. So sometimes you might have to pull on your shoulder a little more. Or you might have to elongate a little more. You might have to go stretch out a little bit further. But if you keep doing that, you're going to figure it out. And then the other tip for technique, of course, is working on opposites. So once you have that one kind of dialed in, so you have your right shoulder down, then you're going to go the opposite. So you do your left and roll like that. So once you have those, then you can perfect your roll. Start small, and then you gradually build. I'm going to switch back to Thomas.
Cool, I'm going to give the last tip.
The most important tip out of all of these is patience. Think patience is a virtue. So if you're just starting off, it can be very frustrating, but just know that this thing, mastering your parkour roll, takes months, even years. So, and it takes dedication. You need to be disciplined. And for me and Jonathan, even though we had an athletic background with our training, and we picked up parkour pretty quick, the roll was one of the most difficult things to master, and it took a lot of practice, a a lot of trial and error, and it just takes a lot of patience. So expect to have time for you to master this. It's going to take months. It took us like 6 months or a little bit longer. So just know that. Don't get frustrated. Take your time. Be safe with it and gradually progress. All right, so that wraps it up for this video. Leave any comments down below for any other tutorials or any other tips you want or advice you want. And then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget, pick up that free 5-day parkour course. I know a lot of you have already done that and gotten some great tips from that. But if you haven't, check it out. All right, I'll see you in the next video.